Welcome to this very special Humanities team program. You can see on the screen who I've got with me. Woohoo! Bruce H. Lipton, Ph.D. Very excited to have you with us, Bruce. I'm going to give him a proper introduction here in just a moment, but do you want to say hi as we get started, Bruce?
Hi. I'm so happy to be here with you, the audience. I mean, I like being with Steve, but it's our audience that is so important because that's where the evolution of this planet is coming from. All of us are participants in this evolution, and Steve and Humanities team is an important insight of how we can collectively work together to manifest the evolution we're looking for. So I'm honored to be here with you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, thank you for being with us, Bruce. As you can see, these programs are always live. So Bruce is coming to you live from his home in Northern California. I'm coming to you live from our Humanities team studio here in Boulder, Colorado. Big shout out now to Bruce Lipton's friends on his Facebook page, our Humanities team friends on our Facebook pages, John Raymer, the Sign Network. Huge shout out to all of you. And our Humanities Stream Plus members that are in a studio, they'll be able to come on camera and talk to Bruce if they like. And then just friends in general that are out there on Facebook. Hey, shout out. Thanks for being with us. Just a really powerful program here in store for you during the next hour. Now, as always, because this is live, we are bringing back comments and questions of yours from out on the social network. So if there's anything that you want to get to Bruce, send it to us earlier rather than later, and there's a better chance we can get to it on air. Okay, now the theme of today's program is reprogramming the subconscious. I'm going to give Bruce a proper introduction because this is the guy, really, that can talk about this with great authority globally. So here, let me introduce Bruce. Bruce H. Lipton, Ph.D. is an esteemed stem cell biologist and an internationally recognized leader in bridging science and spirit, using his scientific research and background to fundamentally change how we perceive our states of being and empower us all to make decisions that impact our personal and collective future positively. He is the best-selling author of The Biology of Belief and recipient of the 2009 Goy Peace Award, along with many accomplishments as a keynote and guest speaker on TV, radio, and in front of corporate business, civic audiences around the world. So again, big welcome to you, Bruce. So nice to have you with us here today.
So honored to be with you, Steve, and our wonderful community. Thank you.
So we're going to just jump right in here to this theme here, reprogramming the subconscious. Let me just share something as we get started, though. We have been working with Bruce, Greg Braden, and Lynn McTaggart now for several years on a free program series. It's called Smarter, Stronger, Faster. And we just actually recorded a new program that's part of that series that has all four of us, Greg, Bruce, Lynn, and myself in it. And this program is going to air for the very first time next Thursday, the 31st, that's at 5 p.m. Pacific, which is 8 p.m. Eastern. You can see on the screen, Smarter, Stronger, Faster. If you click on it, you can register to see it. We're going to pull the veil up on this program for the very first time next Thursday. And Greg Braden's going to join us for the program and come in for the live Q&A. And then 2 days later, Lynn McTaggart has her own program. Then on Tuesday, the 5th of April at 5 p.m. Pacific, Bruce's own program will air. And then on Thursday, the 7th of April at 5 p.m. Pacific, Greg's own program will air. So 4 programs in this series, Smarter, Stronger, Faster. This is, boy, we could talk for an hour actually about the importance of this program because it's drawing a contrast between technology and where technology is going, such as brain implants, metaverse, where people are in some cases wanting to live full time in the what's called metaverse, and our own human potential and capacities, where we really understand them fully and live fully in those potentials and capacities. It's such an important topic in today's world. So we'll talk more about that here in a little bit. Let me just stay on theme here for a moment. So this whole process of reprogramming the subconscious. Bruce, this is such an important topic, and again, you're an expert in this. Where shall we start on this important topic?
Well, I think the best place, Steve, is to start with this, distinguishing between the conscious mind and what is called the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is right behind your forehead. It's a lobe of brain tissue called the prefrontal cortex. That's the seat of conscious mind. And the conscious mind has a different function and learns in a different way, and that's where the problem comes from. The conscious mind is different than the subconscious mind. They work together. They're integrated, but each has its own function and each learns in a different way. And this is where we get all confused because people say the mind. I go, well, it's not the mind. It's two minds that are working together. And if you don't distinguish, then you really misunderstand the relationship of how the mind is affecting us. So we start with the conscious mind. That's the latest evolution of the brain. And the conscious mind right behind your forehead is a unique mind because it's creative. And I say, what does that mean? I say, the conscious mind has imagination. Can I imagine something? Like, 100 years ago, can I imagine going to the moon? Yeah, we can imagine that. But with that imagination, then we can start to engage a behavior to manifest going to the moon, which we did. So the mind starts with imagination and then manifests creation, okay? I say, okay, so that's a creative mind. I say, what about the subconscious, the lower one back here, the bottom? And I say, the subconscious is a habit mind. It records a behavior as a habit. And then if you just push the button, it plays the behavior without you even thinking about it, which is really very convenient because imagine this, when did you learn how to walk? Well, that was before 2. I say, well, how'd you learn how to walk? I say, you had to practice. You had to learn how to stand up. You had to learn how to move without falling over. And this was a training for the nervous system. And I say, after you practice this and you learned it, it became a program in the subconscious mind. And I say a program for this reason. It requires no thinking on your part. Matter of fact, if there's something on the other side of the room, you say, I'm going to go get it. It implies that you're going to walk across the room. And so the brain automatically will then engage walking. You don't have to try and walk across the room. It's an automatic program. And thank God, because if you had to wake up every day and learn how to walk every day, it would mess up our lives. So the point about it is once you learn how to walk, you know how to walk. And I say, for how long? I go, you could be 102. You're still walking, same program. So once the programs go in, they become habits and then they can engage something that we don't have to relearn over and over again really fast. And people talk about, the subconscious, that's where all the evil comes from. That's a Freudian thing. And I want to emphasize this. The subconscious is the equivalent of a hard drive in a computer. It's got programs. Is your hard drive evil? I go, no, the hard drive isn't evil. Some of the programs may not be good, but don't blame the hard drive. That's a mechanism. And thank God we have that hard drive. As I said, once you learn how to walk, you don't have to learn again. It's now there your whole life. So that saves us a lot of effort when we can use things like how to put a program in there. I mean, hey, listen, you learned how to drive a car. You had to practice driving a car. But once you practice, the subconscious downloaded how you drive a car. So that's what, I mean, in the beginning, when you were learning how to drive a car, you had to pay attention to everything. But today, if you've been driving for a while, you just put the key in the ignition, you're out the door, you're going, you could have thoughts and think and have conversations and everything. And the car is being driven automatically. And so these are very important things. So the subconscious has programs. Now comes the issue. The conscious mind is creative. And if let's pretend just for a moment the body is a vehicle with a steering wheel. Okay. When the conscious mind is active, the conscious mind's got the hands on the wheel. And I say, yeah, but the conscious mind has creative wishes and desires. So when the conscious mind is driving the vehicle, it's taking you toward wishes and desires. Now comes the monkey wrench. And I say, what's that? And I say, the conscious mind can think. So I asked Steve, I say, well, today's Friday, Steve. Tell me what you're doing on Sunday. Now, if we could watch Steve for a second, he'll go, I go, what's going on during that second? I say, well, there's nothing written in front of him oh, excuse me, Bruce, here it is. It says right here, I'm doing this. I go, there's nothing written there. I said, where's he going to get the answer from? And the answer is thinking. I go, well, wait a minute. The conscious mind is in our vehicle driving, is looking out the window and driving us into place. But I say, if the conscious mind is thinking, and please, everybody, this is the biggest issue right here. When the conscious mind is thinking, it's no longer looking out, because thinking is looking in. And if you start to looking in, then let's say you actually are driving the car. And you're driving the car because I'm going to here and here, and here's where I'm going to go. And you got the conscious mind driving. And then all of a sudden you start thinking about something. Or actually, let's give the story, better story. You have a passenger in the car and you're driving. And then all of a sudden you get in a conversation with the passengers. Blah, 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 blah. And then you look out the window and you realize, oh my goodness, I haven't paid attention to the road for the last 5 minutes. I go, well, who was driving the car? Because you were in the conversation. Here comes the question that brings it right to the forefront. I say, oh, well, you've been driving for 5 minutes. You want to tell me what your conversation was about? Oh, yeah, we talked about this and this and this. I go, great. Now the next question. While you were in the conversation, what was on the road? And all of a sudden you go, I have no idea what was on the road. I say, why? Because the conscious mind wasn't paying attention to the road. The conscious mind was paying attention to the conversation. And I say, so when the conscious mind is busy, the subconscious is autopilot and plays a program. You know how to drive a car. You can do it without thinking. It's automatic. It's a habit. So I go, here is the story now. The conscious mind is created. The subconscious mind's got programs. But when the conscious mind is thinking, it's not paying attention to the outside because thinking is inside. I go, so point? Well, then when you're thinking, then you're not running the basic things in life. The subconscious is autopilot. It steps in and takes over the behavior. Why? Well, you're thinking, you're not paying attention, like driving the car. You're not paying attention to what's on the road. You're inside thinking, or you're having a conversation. The subconscious does it. So now we put this picture together, and then hopefully that we get to Steve again. We put the picture together, and here's the picture. The conscious mind is creative, has your wishes and desires in it. But the conscious mind can think. And when it's thinking, the subconscious is the autopilot that takes over the routine things, walking, talking, driving the car, doing the job, whatever. It takes that over while you're thinking. And then I give you this number. 95% of the day is how much the average person is thinking. And then I said, well, then 95% of the day is how much I'm playing programs. And I go, yeah, only 5% of the day is the creative mind, the wishes and the desires, what you want. Only 5% of the day is that actually controlling your life. And then you say, well, so when I'm thinking, the subconscious takes over. I go, yes, and here comes another monkey wrench, and that is what? Well, if the conscious mind is looking inside, then it's not observing what's going on outside when the subconscious takes over. I go, so I don't see the program. I go, no, you don't see the program. The program is playing automatically 95% of the day, and if your programs are not supporting you, then 95% of the day you end up sabotaging yourself. And this is called the
Bruce. Yeah. So because some of the key things you've said. So you said you were talking about how our brain is like a computer. So how do we begin to reprogram ourselves?
Well, let's start off with this. Most of us have no idea what the hell programs are. I go, what do you mean I don't know what the program is? I'm playing it all the time. I go, when did you get the program? And the answer is in the first 7 years of life. Actually, even the last trimester of fetal development, you were still in the womb and you were already beginning to download programs. So I go, But the conscious mind doesn't really fully kick in until age 7. So the conscious mind, which is the creative mind, wasn't there working during the downloading of behavior. The first 7 years, your mind is in a state called theta. Theta vibration of the brain, when you put wires on a person's head and you record their brain activity, theta is a vibration just below consciousness. And theta is characterized by imagination. So a child under 7 is in theta as the predominant brain activity. That's why children under 7 can mix the real world and the fantasy world as one, because theta is the imagination. That's what I talk about in the lecture, the famous tea party where kids pour, they have the pitcher and they pour invisible tea into the cup. Then they drink invisible tea and they go, oh, that was the best tea we ever had. I go, that is theta, imagination mixed with real reality at that point, okay? But theta is hypnosis. And so whatever happens in the first 7 years, the brain is like a video recorder. In the first 7 years, it observes what's going on and downloads that as behavior. I say, then where are you getting your behavior from? I say, by watching other people. And I go, then the behaviors that are in your subconscious mind do not reflect what you want, what you desire in your life. That's somebody else. My dad's behavior. Well, and for 7 years, the child is unconsciously programmed to observe the mother, the father, the siblings. And I go, why is that? And I go, because that's how a child learns the rules of being a member of a family. Child's not in school. Child can't read the book, but it's got to become a functional member of the family. I say, well, there are rules in a family. I say, how does a child learn the rules? And I go, first 7 years, just watching them and downloading their behavior into the subconscious. And this occurs to help us become functional members of a family without going through an education class. But we also watch the community. And then we observe how the community behaves. And it's a recording, and that becomes our program. So then 95% of your life is coming from observing the other people, not observing you, observing the other people. And so your behavior isn't yours. Now, Steve brings up the most important question. Well, how do we change these behaviors? And I go, first of all, you don't even know what the behaviors are because you weren't there when they were being programmed. I don't know what my behaviors are. What did you learn when you were in utero? Oh, you don't know. Oh, okay. What did you learn during the year from 0 to 1? Oh, you weren't there. You don't remember. Oh, what did you learn from 1 to 2? And I'm saying your conscious mind wasn't working at that time. So whatever happened, it's not in your conscious mind. And so the significance about all this is profound, because what the significance is, then you don't know your program. You don't know your program. And I go, oh, so what are my programs? And now, thank God, I can tell you what your programs are because of this. 95% of your life is coming from the program. Your life is a printout of your programs. You don't have to go backwards in your life. You could just say, where am I today? And here's a simple point. So all of you out there, ready? The things that you like that come into your life, they come in because you have programs to acknowledge them. But the things you want, the things you desire, and you have to work hard. You have to sweat. I'm going to make it over. I'm going to sweat over this. I'm putting a lot of effort. I'm working real hard to make this. Why are you working so hard? The answer is whatever that destination you were trying to get to, your subconscious program does not support that destination. And that's why your conscious mind is working so hard to get there. So I say, you got programs, and you got them before you even knew you were being programmed. And then we have to identify those programs, because if you want to change your life and you want to make it one that has wishes and desires, then you have to assess what are your programs now, so that you can then change those programs and create the life you want. Steve, okay, should I go on and say about changing?
Yeah. Yeah, no, let me, so I was, you're leading in beautifully to, as you know, we just recorded this whole new program with you and Greg Braden and Lynn McTaggart, and you actually talk. There's a clip we're going to go look at where you talk about how we can start moving in the direction of programming this heaven on earth, which is where we all probably want to end up. And of course, you even wrote a book on this topic. So, and let me I want to thank.
Books. Let me just add why I wrote two. I wrote one, The Biology of Belief. I wrote actually 3 books, but the one that we want to talk about right now is my second book is called The Honeymoon Effect. And I say, what's the relevance of that book? And I say, in my first 7 years of life and observing my mother and father as programs of how to create a relationship, I downloaded their behavior in my subconscious. Well, they had a dysfunctional relationship. So what do you think my subconscious program is? A copy of their behavior. And for the first 40 plus years of my life, when I was seeking a relationship, 95% of my behavior was copying the program that I got from my father. Of course, I couldn't get a relationship based on those behaviors. And then about 45 or so, 50, I started to recognize from the science that we're talking about, oh my God, that relationship program is sabotaging me, the one that I'm playing. And then we went through a belief change process, which we may talk about. And I put in a whole different program of being a partner and being in love, putting in what is it you want in a relationship, fill in the blanks, and then program it. And so I say, so what's the result? Well, I say for the last 26 years of my life, I have been living the honeymoon effect every day with my partner, Margaret. Why? Because my subconscious program, which I don't have to think about 95% of the day, is seeking the honeymoon consequence, and therefore I manifest it. And the issue is, so what's the point about changing? And I go, well, I went from never being able to have a relationship to having a honeymoon, not just a relationship, but a honeymoon for the last 26 years. And therefore wrote the book called The Honeymoon Effect, because It's like, wow, it really works.
It does. Yes. And we're going to go to a clip here. I want to just share now, Lizette, Linda, Betsy, there's lots of good comments coming in, questions. We're going to get to these questions, so thank you. Some of these are on your Facebook page, Bruce. So thank you, viewers, for coming in with your comments and questions. We're going to get to those shortly. Let's go first to this clip. This is from, we have not ever viewed this brand new program before. This is just a little 2-minute clip from this brand new program that Bruce created with Greg, Lynn, and Humanities team. It's called Smarter, Stronger, Faster. This is the one that's airing next Thursday night, beginning at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And we'll put a little thing on the screen where you can go to just register to watch this program. Let's go take a look at it, and then Bruce and I are going to come back and talk about it.
I go, the important part of this program and working with my dear colleague, Greg and Lynn, is that all of us have recognized the very serious part that, yes, we are creating this world, but not creating with wishes and desires. The wake-up call is to recognize this. We have been programmed. And when we get out of the program, then we can manifest heaven on earth. And the simple example of that is in the movie The Matrix. Everyone thinks science fiction. I go, no, movie Matrix is documentary. Everyone has been programmed. Well, that's a fact of life. And then in the movie, they say you take the red pill, you get out of the program. I say, well, what happens? And now I just want to close with this, because in our lives, most of us have taken that red pill at one time. I said, well, what happens? We got out of the program. I said, then what happened? I said, we created a whole different experience. I said, when was that time we took the red pill? And the answer is when we fell in love. Because when we fell in love, we stopped thinking. We stay present. And I say, so what? And I say, well, then we're not defaulting to subconscious programs. When we're staying present, we're creating with our conscious creative mind. And I say, and what happened when we fell in love? No matter how much your life was blah, 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 the day you fell in love, 24 hours later, you manifested heaven on earth, the honeymoon. And this is the clearest and most important understanding, and that is, once we stay present and stop defaulting to the program, we did manifest heaven on earth.
Okay, all right. Boy, that went right to it here. How we manifest heaven on earth. And that was just a teeny little clip from this brand new hour-long program, Smarter, Stronger, Faster, that airs next Thursday, the 31st, beginning at 5 p.m. Pacific. So be sure to check it out. Greg is going to be part of that program to take your questions live during that broadcast. So, boy, Bruce, there's just so much that we could talk about here, isn't there? And of course, people, as I mentioned in your introduction, you were a researcher at Stanford. You've been doing all of this research into epigenetics. A lot of the world understands epigenetics because of the research that you've done. And now as new physics is coming in with unified field theory and entanglement and oneness, and you're right out on the front edge of that. So this is an amazing time, isn't it, Bruce?
Well, it's not just amazing in regard to what we're talking about in regard to controlling your life, but it's an amazing time because if you just look out the window, you can see the whole planet is in a state of chaos of all different kinds, whether it's a COVID plague or whether it's a war in Ukraine or whether it's religious strife or racial strife, economic upheaval. My God, everything seems like crazy. And I go, it's not a coincidence. This is we're in a stage of evolution, and we have to evolve. It's not should we evolve, we have to evolve because humans have created what is referred to as the sixth mass extinction of life on this planet, which means 5 times in the history of this planet there was a mass extinction. I'll go back to the fifth one, the last one. That's when the dinosaurs were here and the planet was lush with forests and all kinds of stuff. And then a comet hit near the Yucatan Peninsula, upended the web of life. And as a result, guess what? All the dinosaurs disappeared, 75% of life disappeared, and it started all over again. And now today, humans have created, because of our behavior of undermining the web of life and not learning to live in harmony with the earth and with nature, we've undermined nature to the extent that we are today in the sixth mass extinction. And all the crises that we see are part of a message to the people that says, you cannot continue living the way you've been living. The way you've been living is destroying the planet and yourself. So nature is giving us a wake-up call. And the wake-up call is to break the structure of the way we've been living, because that structure has been undermining the planet's web of life. And so all those things that you see going on are not a coincidence. They're all part of wake up, humans. You must change your behavior now because the time is running out. In fact, NASA, through a global research effort, has come to a profoundly important conclusion, and that is industrial civilization, which is the one we're in, will collapse within the next 2 decades. And they didn't just say collapse, they said facing an irreversible collapse, which means it's not going back. We have to learn how to adjust now to move into the future and not try to bring the past back, because the past is where the problem comes from anyway. So this is a wake-up call that we're all experiencing. If we understand it, then we can move, and each one of us is a participant. And that's why Humanities team's effort is so important, because this is not passive, oh, just sit at home and watch the evolution. No, we are engaged in it. And therefore, as active participants, this is why Humanities team program is so important. It says, well, if you're active participants, what can we do to facilitate that evolution? And the forum that you are presiding over, Steve, is exactly that place for us to go to say, what can we do?
Boy, yeah, thank you for that. And of course, we can only be successful where we have all these partners: Bruce Lipton, Greg Braden, Lynn McTaggart, the HeartMath leaders, and you, viewers, that are on the conscious journey. So a little bit about us, just in case you don't know. Humanities Team is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. About half the team, including myself, are not even compensated. We're here really because this is this moment where we need to pivot, where it's our time to shift into this direction of living consciously. So our whole effort is focused on supporting people on their conscious journey. and making conscious living pervasive worldwide by 2040, which is in 18 years. So people ask, well, they'll say, okay, I resonate with that, and you viewers that are watching this program are conscious, and I'm sure you do resonate with that, but they'll then say, how do you intend to do that? How are we going to shift from what Bruce was just talking about, these behaviors that could create the next mass extinction, an existential crisis, to a sustainable and flourishing planet? And the way that we do that is that we start living consciously. And of course, this is just, you are all conscious viewers. Living consciously includes so many different pieces and parts, components. We're healing trauma. We're bringing higher love into our relationships. We're learning about what conscious leadership is. We're, in the case of what we're talking about here today, we're looking at technology, consciousness, and evolution. And we're saying, what do we want to do with technology that supports this future world that we live in? And what can we do with our own human capacities and potential? And this is where Bruce and Greg Braden and Lynn McTaggart, they've created something called Technology, Consciousness, and Evolution. Actually, there's a newly expanded program. It's just being unveiled here in a few weeks. There are these 3 new modules in it. Bruce, Greg, and Lynn each have a new module. They're also each coming in live to do a 60-minute mentoring program. And in this program, there's this contrast between technology, which, as you know, technology can be good or bad. But what we address in this program are technologies like metaverse, where we're just putting on goggles and living in front of the computer all day, or chips that we place in our brain to augment our function. And we talk about what that does. What's the good and bad in that? And then, and of course, Bruce and Lynn and Greg are researchers into human capacities, and they talk about, you know, we're only scratching the surface on who the heck we are and how we can live our lives in empowered ways. Bruce has been talking about this honeymoon effect, how we can live our lives in where we're coming into our fullest potential, where we aren't putting any chips in our brain, etc. So this is it's a newly expanded masterclass. It's called Technology, Consciousness, and Evolution. It's such an important masterclass at this time in the Earth's evolution. Let's go now to, we've got a little clip we're going to play from it, and this is on the Humanities Stream Plus platform, which is our conscious streaming platform that extends all over the world. So let's go take a look at this clip, and then we're going to come back and talk about it.
So the idea that we're creating our lives is, yes, really cool, but only 5% of that creation is coming from wishes and desires, and 95% of what we create is coming from the programs we were downloaded with. So we're not living the lives that we want. And that's why when it comes to the world of physics, it says consciousness is creating this world, and you look at it and go, I wouldn't create this world. And I go, no, you wouldn't. And matter of fact, you wouldn't do it at all with the conscious mind, except the conscious mind is only working 5% of the time. You have been programmed. We've all been programmed. Now, to give an example of the nature of this, I was giving a talk in Israel, in Tel Aviv, before an audience of Palestinians and Israelis, which was a very interesting mix of people at that conference. It was sort of like oil and water. The Jews and the Palestinians were separated from each other, as they usually are. And I start giving them the understanding about how we are programmed and that we live this program. So I bring up the slide and I say, here's the problem. I'm telling these people in the Middle East, here's the problem. And I show them the picture. And the picture shows Israeli kids, children, playing with machine guns. The other picture shows Palestinian kids dressed up in military uniform, carrying wooden guns. And I'm going, you are giving these kids the program of what? Violence. Violence against who? Each other. They don't even know the other people, except that if they meet a Palestinian, the first thing the Jewish kid will say is, you're my enemy. The Palestinian will see a Jew, never seen one before, but got the download from their program. The Jew is the enemy. And I go,
This is negative programming, and that plays 95% of the day. It's not what the kids wish and desire, it's what the program said they should do. They become violent against one another based on the downloading of these programs. But there is a solution to this, and that is, what if you raise the kids together? What if you put them together as young kids and let them play together? And I've seen this there. A couple of friends of mine have created a kindergarten called the Garden of Abraham, where Jewish kids and Palestinian children, young kids, play together. And guess what? When they play together, there's no enemy involved. They're friends. And the significance of that is, as they grow up, they stay friends. Significance? No violence.
Okay, so this is this newly expanded masterclass, Technology, Consciousness, and Evolution. It's on that Humanities Stream Plus platform. So if you're not familiar with it, invite you to go. You can see if you go to humanitiesteam.org/stream, you'll go right onto the platform. There's nothing like this platform in the industry. It's a point-and-click platform where the synopsis of the program, all of the modules, you click once and you come down. You can see the entire program. There are hundreds of programs on the platform. We're adding a new program every week. This Technology, Consciousness, and Evolution new masterclass will first be available on this platform. So it's $3.99 a year, which is the lowest price in the industry for something like this. Again, hundreds of programs. So Bruce Lipton's other masterclass is also on the platform. It's called The Science of Self-Empowerment. That's with Greg Braden and the Heart Math leaders, Deborah Rosman and Howard Martin. Also, this other brand new masterclass called Forbidden Science with Greg Braden and Nassim Harriman that brings in unified field theory is on the platform. Again, you're going to have to go take a look. You can see we're scrolling it. There are hundreds of programs here, and we're adding new programs every week. This is our trim tab. You know, you've heard this Buckminster Fuller thing of every organization or individual has a trim tab. There's this one thing that you can do that can turn a mighty ship, that can create massive, massive change. This is what we were called to do in Humanities team as a nonprofit, was to create this one-of-a-kind conscious streaming platform. There's a whole Spanish platform coming out here in the next weeks, and then French and German after that, and other languages after that. We're bringing the price down, down, down. We just brought it down to an industry-leading $3.99 price. And our vision when we talk about supporting people on their conscious journey and making conscious living pervasive worldwide by 2040 is we're going to invite every home all over the world in every language and every faith tradition to have this in their home, because this is how we can really live in the fullness of consciousness, where we can really be as an individual, as a home and a workplace, how we can live consciously in its fullness, where we have these thought leaders that are best in the world, like Bruce, and many other partners that are all over the world, where they bring their best practices to these master classes that they've created. And then they also come in and do this live mentoring. Bruce, as I mentioned, with Greg and Lynn, they're each doing an hour of live mentoring, where they're just every question and comment of every kind is thrown at them over an hour. A lot of time, Bruce often will stay for another half hour or so, because there's so many questions coming at him. And then this whole collaborative style, where you put Greg and Bruce and Lynn together. The reason we do this collaborative teaching is, you've heard, synergy, this 1 + 1 + 1 thing equaling, my God, it's 10. How did we get to 10? Well, you put amazing wisdom back to back to back, where there's power and cohesion. That's how you get to 10. You can't walk away from technology, consciousness, and evolution without saying, oh my God, I have a whole new vision for what my potential and capacities are, and I'm going to go for it. And this is then this is how we live consciously in a fuller, more powerful way, more empowered, right? Where a class can have that kind of effect. So this is an amazing program. Again, we're right in the launch, where we're unveiling Smarter, Stronger, Faster next Thursday for the very first time, and then these 3 other programs. Who's ever heard of 4 free programs. I don't think we have ever seen it in the industry. We're bringing that in because we're saying, hey, world, come in. We're a nonprofit. Come in and at least listen to these leaders talk about this. And we don't, even if you don't go through the masterclass, that's fine. Take some tools from these programs that allow us to really understand the role technology can play and the role that we can play with our soft technology as human beings. Now, many people, actually a large percentage that go through actually do say, I want to go deeper. And they go into the Technology, Consciousness, and Evolution program. And I'll tell you, we do so just massive, it's such a massive gift to the world what these leaders have put together, Bruce and Lynn and Greg. So thank you, Bruce. I don't have the other two here with me right now, but it is truly a gift to the world.
Steve, let me just add this, if I could, just add this right into your storyline, and it's a very important part, and that is this: knowledge is power. We've known that for a long time. A lack of knowledge is a lack of power. And what these programs that Humanities team is offering the public is an enhancement of knowledge, a better way to live on this planet, to correct some of the mistakes that we were programmed with. I mean, for example, just in my work alone, a lot of people believe genes control their life. And I go, that's totally a false statement. It has nothing to do with it. Your consciousness controls your genes. Darwinian theory, everybody believes, yeah, life is a struggle for survival. I go, no, the theory was wrong, that life is not based on competition. It's based on cooperation. We've been going in total wrong direction. I go, if we correct these fundamental beliefs, then we are on a better track, because that knowledge will empower us. And I think, the tab for getting into Humanities team, if you think about it, is not very much for all of these college courses that you're going to get with that tuition. And they're not just college courses, they're courses of advancing our knowledge. Because with knowledge, we'll have power. And that's what we need, because we've always looked at ourselves as victims of the world, when Humanities team's programs are revealing, no, you're not a victim, you're a creator. And if you understand the nature of this, then that power will enable you to have heaven on earth as long as you live on this beautiful planet.
Boy, and let's go, and why not, create heaven on earth? And in this generation, that's this next 18 years, let's in this generation, before we pass and go back to the absolute realm, and because of course we go back and forth and back and forth, but boy, let's make that our gift, right, to this planet, where we, first of all, receive it. I mean, people think we sacrifice on the conscious journey. Now, do you think this honeymoon effect thing is sacrificing? Bruce is saying, he's living this every day and has with Margaret, his beautiful wife. So we're not sacrificing. Let's bring it in, bring that, the fruit of conscious living into our life, and then where we just connect our hands and hearts and all over the world, then we create our heaven on earth here on the planet. That's what our work is about. That's what Bruce's work is about. It's what our work is about. I want to just share also, we're going to go to some comments and questions here because we've got a whole bunch of them. And thank you, viewers, that on Humanities Stream Plus, as Bruce mentioned, the average masterclass now is $297, so $399. So for 100 more, you have hundreds of programs. Also, about a month ago, we announced something called our 1-for-1 program. Okay, and what this is so where we say in 18 years that we want to make conscious living pervasive worldwide, as we know, about 40% of the planet's only living on $2 a day or less. So we can't get the price down low enough for 40% of the planet. So in the 1-for-1 program, then when you purchase your Humanities team subscription, you create a gift where one is set aside for these underserved individuals around the world, underprivileged, underserved, that could never afford a conscious streaming platform. So right now we're going into veterans' homes, incarcerated populations. So there are all of these populations all over the world where there are people that would love to live consciously. They're actually thinking about just getting their next meal on the table, quite honestly. They're not thinking about how they would ever scratch together the budget to bring Humanities Stream Plus into their home. Well, when you purchase your membership at this price that's about $1 a day, $399 a year, you actually give these people the gift of this conscious streaming platform in their home. So I wanted to mention that too. Okay, let me come to some of these comments and questions. So this is one, Bruce, from your Facebook page. Lizette says, in my opinion, kids nowadays don't play with their imagination anymore. They're watching YouTube videos. So technology, that maybe isn't supporting us in all the ways that we'd like. That's just a comment that was thrown at you, Bruce.
Well, I'd like to bring that up. It's a very important point because people have heard of the phrase use it or lose it. And frequently they're referring to, oh, well, I can build up my muscles through exercise and I'm using them. But if I stop using my muscles, then they disappear. And I go, use it or lose it applies to every system in the human body. Every system is based on use it or lose it. And most importantly, the creative aspect of a child is when they were in child development. That's what kids do. They create ideas, they play, and through play, they are being very creative. But if we are doing what we're doing now, and that is programming them with STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, I say those courses are not creative. Those courses are rote memorization. Can you memorize the equation? Can you memorize this? And I go, if what has happened is our education has taken the creative part out because of finances. Oh yeah, years ago when I went to school, we had great courses. We had shop for the guys or buddy who want to learn how to fix and make things. Home ec. We had music. We had art. These were programs, and most of those have been sacrificed in budgetary reasons to provide more STEM. And I say, then what have you thrown out of the education? I said, the creative part of a child's education has now been transferred to the rote memorization of science, technology, and engineering. And I say, and the result is this: we are not as creative as a population. Not that long ago, well, it is long ago because I'm old, but the U.S. was the leader in technology because we had the best education system that provided creativity for the kids to move into the future. Today, the U.S. is somewhere near the bottom of Western countries in regard to technology. Why? We've lost our creative character. Use it or lose it. We've lost it. And this is a wake-up call. Giving children back the exercises of creativity, because that's what engages those brain cells. And if you don't engage those brain cells, then they don't develop, and use it or lose it applies.
Yes, this is such an important point. And in Smarter, Stronger, Faster, you and Greg Braden talk at length about this atrophy, where this is one of the things about technology where it's used wrongly, where we're doing brain chips and putting a brain chip in our body. It's augmenting, and when we augment, just what Bruce is saying here, we atrophy. It just, where things aren't used, it atrophies. We, of course, are well familiar with this in many parts of our life. My God, would you want this to happen with your brain? Where your brain is atrophying because it's being stimulated by outside thought. Okay, here's some other things I want to bring in. So Betsy says, you are amazing, Bruce. What made you take this path?
Well, the beautiful part about this is I used to be teaching in a medical school about the nature of how genes control the character of our lives. It's called genetic determinism. Your genes control you. As far as you know, you didn't pick them. You don't like your character, you can't change those genes. And then we tell you the genes turn on and off by themselves. And I said, what did we just program? We programmed that you're a victim of your heredity. Oh, there's cancer running in my family and I'm going to get the cancer. And I go, this is completely wrong. This is what the cells in my research revealed, that the genes didn't control the fate of the cell. It was the environment that controlled the genetics. And in fact, little wake-up call here, there's no gene that causes cancer. That's an amazing story right there in itself, because everyone's like, oncogenes cause cancer. And I say, hey, women are concerned about the breast cancer gene. That's big, big story. And I go, yeah. And I go, well, what about that story? And it turns out that 50% of the women that carry the gene never get the cancer. And I said, well, you have to stop right there and say, how can you have the gene and not cause the cancer? And the answer is this: because the gene doesn't cause cancer. That's why. It's an environment thing. And this is really living in a nature of stress and disharmony is what precipitates that. So half the women have the gene, but their lives are in harmony. They never get the cancer. It's the ones that have the genes whose lives are not in harmony that get the cancer. So they want to kill the cells because of the genes. I said, no, you're attacking it wrong. It's the environment and the programming that causes cancer. And you change your programming, cancer goes into remission.
All right, and of course, in Smarter, Stronger, Faster, and Technology, Consciousness, and Evolution, boy, Bruce goes into it with charts and graphs and a lot of face-to-face, and then, the live mentoring. So from our viewing room, let me just scroll up a little bit. Anastasia, she says, is the subconscious part of, let's see if we can scroll up a little bit here. Okay, there we go. Is the subconscious part of the human mind the link to universal consciousness and the field of all potentialities? I have the wish to strengthen my belief on this magnificent concept. Can you please share how to prove the dynamics of our interaction with the field of creation?
Yeah.
That was a big question.
It's a very big question, a very important question. The fact is this: the subconscious mind is yours, not shared by anybody else. So it's not a common mind for civilization. It's what you downloaded, what you learned, and how you're, playing it in your life. Your conscious mind, though, that's the one that is coming from the field where everyone else is involved. And so consciousness is what connects us all. Subconscious is your life experiences. It's used for this lifetime. And something, as the new science revealed to me, which I didn't really know for most of my life, is that we are spiritual entities. I was teaching genes, and now I start to recognize from the physics that we are spiritual entities, and that the body is like a television set. My spirit is the broadcast. When a television watching show breaks, you say television is dead, and I go, yeah, television's dead, but is the broadcast still there? And the answer, of course, it's still there. And I said, yes, this is the same thing with the human. We are not in this body. We are receiving a broadcast, a field, in terms of the science of quantum physics. There's a field that's playing through us. And I go, so if your body dies, the field didn't die. It's still there. And it's like, that blew my mind, because I said, oh my God, you can't die. You're not even in here. And then the joy about that was you also come back again when another embryo has the same set of what are called self-receptors that are reading that field through you. Each of us has our own set of these self-receptors. These are proteins. No two people have the same set. So each of us is receiving a different energy broadcast. Then let's just turn it back for a second to the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is learned in this lifetime from the experiences we have in this lifetime. But when you pass on and go back to the field, subconscious is gone. And when you come back again, guess what? Fresh subconscious, and you start all over again. So the subconscious is used now for this life. The conscious is always here. It's involved whether you are in this body or not in this body. And that is the perpetual person that you really are.
Boy, there's a depth of wisdom, Bruce, to this. Nice to hear you kind of go into this, tell stories, go deeper, because there's just a depth of wisdom to all of this that's substantial, to really get it, and to get it beyond just awareness, to get it to where it's habit. It's a groove. It's your honeymoon effect. If this is the way, okay, I'm living my life this way. So now let me bring in a few other questions here. So Linda says, she probably speaks for a lot of people. You were talking about all the challenges in today's world. She says, you make it sound easy sometimes, Bruce. What do we do when faced with something that triggers you in a very strong way? I believe that many people on the planet today are experiencing PTSD type symptoms due to the ongoing health crisis and what's going on with Russia and the Ukraine right now, not to mention other difficult situations all over the world.
Yeah, well, we have to recognize that at the beginning, this PTSD started not today. It started when we were being programmed. Most of that programming is limiting our abilities. Many of the programs are self-sabotaging to begin with, or disempowering programs. As a matter of fact, up to 60% of the downloaded programs before age 7 are disempowering programs. So we were being disempowered before we got here in a sense of our conscious awareness. And yet today, those things that are happening are the pushing the button, pushing that stimulus of we're the victim and the world's out of control and what am I going to do? And I go, you're not a victim, you're a creator. And people say, oh yeah. And I go, here are 2 or 3 little interesting facts. One, how many people walk across hot coals? Hot coals burn people. Yeah, if you're not prepared, don't walk across the hot coals. But I say, what are you being prepared? And I say, you change your consciousness. You recognize how you go past hot coals and you don't get burned by them. And that's a change of consciousness that empowers you to walk across hot coals. And it's interesting because if you're in the middle of that walk and you revert back to the consciousness of, can I do this? That's the moment you get burned because you now challenge your consciousness. People down south, which I've showed videos of some of my lectures, work themselves up into religious ecstasy and they start speaking in tongues. Some of them play with vipers, poisonous rattlesnakes, for example, and they don't have a real serious problem. But the one I wanted to bring up is some of them drink strychnine poison, and they call it testifying. What is testifying? Well, in that religious group, testifying means you want to demonstrate God's power, and you do something no person in their normal mind would ever do, pick up rattlesnakes and play with them, or drink strychnine. And guess what? In that moment of testifying, drinking strychnine poison caused no harmful effects. They actually drank the damn poison, but their belief system, unshakable. They were saying God was doing this. It was really their belief is doing this, and that worked as well. One last one, just quickly, is if you've ever seen somebody like at a county fair or something demonstrate their strength, these big muscle guys, and they lift up a car, and they go, "I'm lifting up the car." And I go, yeah, that big muscle guy did that, but how many stories I can show you on the, in the news across the world? Let's say when a child got trapped under a car, the mother lifts up the car and holds the car until somebody can help get the child out. And I go, the mother did this? I go, she's not a trained athlete or nothing. I go, it had nothing to do with being an athlete. It had to do with the power of consciousness. There was no way you could tell that mother, you can't lift up that car. Not with her kid under the car. Are you kidding me? She lifts up the car. Why? No doubt in her conscious mind. Conscious mind's creative. And she lifts up the car and she has nowhere near the muscle power of that big strong guy who was demonstrating this. And so I'm going through, why these things? I say, these are wild things that humans have amazing power, but they have it because of the power of the consciousness. And if our consciousness has been programmed early on with dysfunctional programs, and then we run our lives 95% of the time with those, anything that brings back one of those dysfunctional programs, any stimulus that's out there, whether it's the Ukraine war, whether it's the COVID thing or anything, those fears will engage those negative conscious points, and then we manifest them because consciousness is our manifestation. Henry Ford, I'll close with this one on this, because it's simple. Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And
that's right. Boy, that is such a powerful quote. And he did say that. I mean, so these concepts, people, as you mentioned, Bruce, some people say, oh, this is so new age. Oh, yeah, new age. This stuff goes way back. If you think you can or think you can't, you're right. So there's so much here. Again, technology, consciousness, and evolution. Wow, what an incredible gift from Bruce Lipton, Lynn McTaggart, Greg Braden. So join us next Thursday, the 31st, beginning at 5 p.m. Pacific. Also, this technology, consciousness, and evolution program, it launches in a few weeks, but even before it launches, it's going to be available to everybody, the full program on the Humanities Stream Plus platform. So if you're interested, go take a look. When you register, you'll be among the first to go through it. You can actually go through the whole thing in 2 days if you want. You wouldn't want to try and do that. There's actually 27 modules, and then there's 3 mentoring programs. But you can dive in, and it's all available right from day one, even before the program starts on the Humanities Stream Plus platform. So go check it out. To viewers, hey, thank you all for your interaction. There are so many comments and questions we didn't get to. Bruce, yeah.
Are we really on a strict time? Can we do another question or possibly? Or I don't
Sure.
know if
Yeah.
I'm not in the programming end of this thing, so I have no
Let's
idea.
do another question. In fact, from your page, and people on your page have been so interactive here. So this one is it says from Bruce's page. It actually doesn't have the person's name. It says, Bruce, is it possible to rewire our subconscious neuropaths and change our learned behaviors?
100%. That's exactly what this whole thing is all about. It's 100% reality that you can rewrite these programs. And I said the big issue about rewriting the programs is, I mentioned at the very beginning, I said the conscious and subconscious have different functions, conscious creative, subconscious habit. But I also said they learn in different ways. And we didn't understand that. Now that we understand it, we said, oh, well, if you want to change the subconscious, you can't use the same way that we change the conscious mind. Conscious mind's creative. I could read a book. I could watch this program that we're doing right now. I could read a book. I could go to a lecture, and it would change my mind. As a matter of fact, all I have to do is go, aha, I have a new idea, and I just changed my conscious mind. Subconscious mind's habit. And habits, if they change very frequently, then are not habits by definition. Habits resist change. So all of a sudden I say, oh, if you want to change the subconscious, then you have to employ a different approach to changing the subconscious mind, because it doesn't do it the way the conscious creative mind does it. So there are 3 ways, which are on my website. A lot of people, it's free download. You can get information. But the 3 ways, and we bring it up in the Technology Consciousness Evolution program. There are 3 ways to change the subconscious. One of them is self-hypnosis. The other is practicing creating a new habit. And the third is something called energy psychology, which is profoundly important. The point is very clear here, just summarized. You want to change the subconscious, you have to use one of those 3 processes, because that's the only way the habit mind will change a habit.
And that's brucelipton.com. Bruce, this is where they can go to grab these free resources. brucelipton.com. So check it out. And again, Bruce has 2 programs here on the Humanities Stream Plus platform. This new one, the Technology, Consciousness, and Evolution, and this earlier one called the Science of Self-Empowerment. Both of them are actually some of our biggest programs on the platform, but there are hundreds of others that you're going to want to check out as well. Michael Beckwith and Neil Donald Walsh just did a program called Discover Your Soul's Purpose. And that was, what a barn burner that was. And then just before that, Greg Braden and Nassim Harriman did this other blockbuster program called Forbidden Science. And it's called Forbidden Science. Greg insisted that we put that name on the program because a lot of the science is not allowed in the classroom. I mean, can you believe that? And it's because there are too many institutions that feel threatened by this new unified field theory, this new science that says everything is actually entangled. It's actually, we're all an emanation of the one. Everything is, I mean, too much to try and get into here right now on that program, but astonishing, really. Nassim Harriman, you may know, is just, I think, a short weeks away from bringing forward the fullness of this unified field theory that is, that's what Einstein was working on, in his lifetime. He couldn't quite get to the conclusions, and they're all coming out to 13-digit accuracy. 13-digit, and that's 0.00000, incredible. So, hey, Bruce, thank you for being with me. Bruce is supported. He's got a beautiful wife, Margaret. Laura was actually on earlier with us, who was on a social media team, Anne from his team. So thank you to all of the Bruce Lipton team. Let me just bring in, I'm in a studio here with Jim Gray. He's the guy that makes this all look so, Bruce and I just get to yak. Well, he's the one loading the videos and having us, here we go, we're in the studio. There's Jim over there with me. Jim Gray. So thank you, Jim. Much appreciated. Karen Gordon, then, she and her writing team create all of the communications that are going out as part of this series. Nanette Kennedy's out on social media, Dee Meyer, Noah, Garth Catterall. So thank you to all of the Humanities team group, my partners and colleagues that make this possible. And you, the viewers, huge thank you to you. Thank you for being on the conscious journey and hanging out with us. Bruce and I here today. Next week, I'm going to be back with Bruce's colleague, Lynn McTaggart. We're going to do the program an hour earlier because we're going to be live. As you probably know, Lynn lives over in the United Kingdom, and it's late over there. So we're going to start an hour earlier. We'll start at 10 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Mountain, 1 p.m. Eastern next week with Lynn McTaggart. So be sure to join us next week. And thank you, everybody. Thanks for being with us here for this special Humanities Team program with this very, very special guest, Dr. Bruce Lipton. We just are so grateful for your many contributions to an awakened world, Bruce. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so
And
much.
everybody, have a fabulous rest of the day, Friday and weekend. Been great hanging out with you today, and look forward to being back with you Friday next week. Take care, everybody. Love and peace and blessings.